Is investing in apartments only for really, really rich people, or can anybody get access to it? In this video, I'm gonna walk you through how to start investing in apartments so you can experience amazing cash flow, that big appreciation that we're all looking for, and you can finally create financial freedom. Because most of the stuff gurus are teaching just doesn't work. The very first tip to investing in apartments is you have to shift your mindset. This is the hardest thing I struggled with, moving from 2 to 4 unit deals into investing in apartments. It was hard for my mind to wrap around, instead of making $2,500 to $3,500 a month from a duplex to $20,000 a month from a specific building. That is a big shift our mindset has to make. And if you're gonna get into the apartment game, I want you to start normalizing talking about bigger numbers. I want you to start normalizing the 7-figure game. Because if you're gonna get into apartments, you're gonna be investing $1 million and above. So for you, investing in $1 million buildings, it's just an everyday thing. That's the shift in the mindset I want you to experience. Because if we don't shift that mindset, every tactic you seek to apply, you're going to be bumping up against the ceiling of your mindset. The mindset sets the ceiling of success. That's true in multifamily real estate. The only reason I invested in 2 to 4 unit deals and not 50 unit deals was because I kept bumping up against the ceiling of my mindset. And I don't want you to make the same mistake that I made. So today, start saying to yourself, I invest in buildings 7 figures and above. Let's start normalizing success, because if apartments are going to be the reality of our investment, it has to first happen in the reality of our mind. That's what we have to get first before we can ever see 20 tenants paying us from one building. The second thing you want to do when investing in apartment buildings is choose your market. Now, picking a market is very tedious when investing in multifamily apartment buildings, because the markets you really want to be in are often really expensive. And the markets you don't want to necessarily be in, you can get properties pretty cheap. And the temptation is to gravitate towards the markets that have properties you can afford versus gravitating towards the markets we should be investing in, even if it's way out of our price range currently. Because again, if we're going to shift our mindset, that's only a matter of time. There's 3 things I look at when I'm picking a market to invest in apartments. Number 1 is population growth. Let's make sure that people are still moving to this city. For example, over the past few years, many people are moving to the southeastern side of the country. South and North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Alabama. We're seeing a big move towards the southeastern side of the country for a couple reasons. Taxes are lower, cost of living is lower, and there's a lot of jobs. Well, that creates a huge reason to uproot my life and move there, because there's so much benefit. But when that's the trajectory, when that's what you see, that's where you want to invest in apartments, because there's more people moving there. Now, I talk about population growth, not just population growth in any city. You want to make sure the reason the population is growing is because of jobs. You can have retirement communities that are increasing in population, but that's not where I would buy apartment buildings, because there's a lot of fixed income scenarios. And what you're going to have is population growth, but not necessarily job growth. You want to make sure there's both. You want population growth. What you want to see is what we call that northeastern graph, right? The graph is moving to the northeast, meaning people are moving there every single month. I remember when I first started to invest in multifamily real estate, in specific apartment buildings, it blew my mind, for example, that Columbus, Ohio hasn't seen a decrease in population for 20 years. That'd be a good place to look at for multifamily real estate. I've noticed that Indianapolis last year was the strongest rent growth in the country. That'd be a great place to invest in multifamily real estate. I noticed that Texas has higher property taxes, but their state income tax is so awesome. That's a good place to invest in multifamily real estate, because those are the kinds of things that bring people to a city. We invest, when you're investing in apartments, in places in which people are moving. If you just follow this one simple tip of follow jobs when investing in apartments, you'll never lose. And the last thing when you're picking a market you want to remember is make sure you choose landlord-friendly states. All those places I just mentioned: South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indiana. Those are all powerfully landlord-friendly states, meaning they make it really easy to succeed as a landlord, meaning owning properties in which you rent to tenants. Because the truth of the matter is sometimes people hit a rough patch and they can't pay their rent. We certainly want to work with them. But if it gets to the point where they're not able to keep up their end of the bargain, they need to move out of our place so we can get a tenant in that can pay. Well, we need legislation that makes it easy to accomplish that. We need to be able to move a tenant out and bring a tenant in that's going to pay that rent. Because I'm guessing when you underwrote your property, you didn't underwrite a bunch of tenants not paying rent. None of us do. Do we plan for some of that? Sometimes, sure. But we want to make sure we're investing in a state that supports the entrepreneurial endeavors of landlords and makes it easy for us to successfully create safe housing for our tenants and very, very profitable businesses so we can keep doing what we do, which is creating value for people. When I first started toying with the idea of investing in apartments, the very first thing I did was I got a mentor. I hired somebody to show me the ropes. How do I scale from 2 to 4 units to 50? How does that change happen? Because I knew my mindset had to shift, but I didn't know if I could do that on my own. So I selected a mentor that already was where I wanted to be. When you're choosing a mentor, especially in investing in apartments, make sure you pick a mentor that's trustworthy and that is already where you want to be. I get very, very leery of the people driving around in Lamborghinis, most of them they rent for photo shoots, where we don't know if they're making that money just from selling coaching or if they're actually doing what they're teaching. So for me, I went to somebody who coaching wasn't their primary role. Their primary role was investing in apartment buildings, and I said, will you coach me? He had a very small group of people that he was working with, and he began to change my life. 71 days after I hired a mentor, I had my first apartment building under contract. 71 days. That's the power of mentorship. I didn't have the ability to go there in my mind until somebody came along and said, Mike, not only can you do it, but here's how. And that's the power of mentorship. Not only do you need to shift your mindset, but you know what you need? You need a mentor that you can pick up the phone and call and say, what do I do when this happens? When you hit a rough patch or something happens that you're not ready for, you need somebody that you can call and run that by. Not only did that mentor help me get my first property under contract, I closed on that property. I still own that property today, and it makes my investors money month after month. It's a beautiful property. It opened so many doors to me. After people found that I was starting to invest in apartment buildings, investors started to want to give me money. They wanted to partner on some of my deals, all because I got a mentor that could help me get to the finish line faster. Mentoring is not always about just telling what you don't know. It's about cutting the speed in half. It's about, instead of taking 2 years to get your first apartment deal, why not do it in a few months? That's the difference. And getting a mentor can take you way further, way faster. I have a free gift for you. I've created a multifamily masterclass that walks through how I got into apartments and how you can start busting into the multifamily game. In the description, go ahead and click the link, get into that training, and start digesting the content that can change your life. And I have way more for you. This is just part 1. Go ahead and click on the right corner of the screen and get part 2 of how to start investing in apartments. I'll see you in the next video.